Good morning. Well, thank you all of you for being here, and especially want to thank our friends from the labor movement, our friends who want fair trade, not fast-tracked trade, for being here this morning. I'm Donna Edwards. I represent Maryland's 4th Congressional District, which is right outside the city here. Today, Congresswoman DeLauro and I have been joined on a letter by 120 members of Congress, a bipartisan letter from both sides to send a clear signal to the President, to President Obama, to really say yes for real to Buy American. Right now, we know that the President and U.S. Trade Representative Michael Froman are in ongoing Trans-Pacific Partnership negotiations that in their current form weaken the Buy American provisions and jeopardize American jobs and manufacturing. We want to urge them strongly to reconsider. Instead of sending our tax dollars overseas, we really should be investing them here in the United States, supporting our manufacturing sector and creating good, high-wage jobs right here in the United States. The statistics are really telling. The United States procurement market is more than 10 times larger than every single one of the TPP procurement markets combined. I think just take a minute to process what that means. In the United States, our procurement market is $556 billion with the U.S. federal government. And in exchange, we would get, for trade, $53 billion worth of new procurement markets for U.S. companies in TPP countries, $556 billion of access to U.S. procurement in exchange for $53 billion. It's really unacceptable, and it's not fair. And it's really not fair to American workers. And at a time when here in Congress we should be focused on creating jobs and revitalizing our manufacturing base, instead our trade agreements really should not be put in a position to limit our ability to spend U.S. tax dollars on U.S. goods. If you believe in American manufacturing and in buying American products, then you have to have preferential access for U.S. firms to U.S. products, to U.S. procurement. And that strengthens our economy. We should use government procurement, and we're talking about U.S. government procurement, taxpayer dollar procurement, but we should be using that to strengthen and support our manufacturing sector and to create high-wage jobs in our American manufacturing sector. And so we're gathered here today, joined with our partners in labor, our partners in advocacy for American jobs and for American manufacturing, and for 21st century American manufacturing, to say yes to Made in America and say yes to American jobs. And that means that we absolutely must say no to the TPP's ban on Buy America. And so with that, I want to turn to my colleague and a real leader and champion, because we're partners in this together, on this issue for workers' rights, Congresswoman Rosa DeLauro from Connecticut.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Donna. I want to just congratulate you. This is not the first time you have led this effort on Buy America. You have done this again and again and again, and organized members of our caucus and on the other side of the aisle to demonstrate the strength of feelings that we have on this issue. I want to say again a thank you to Congresswoman Edwards, and also many thanks to Congressman Walter Jones. They've led this bipartisan letter to the President, and they're standing by our Buy America policies that create jobs for American workers. I want to say a thank you to all of our friends who are here today in labor, the advocacy groups, Friends of the Earth, etc. Yes, it's about putting people first. It's about releasing the text. It's about TPP equaling a polluter's Bill of Rights. All of those efforts. As Congresswoman Edwards has said, the Trans-Pacific Partnership threatens to devastate the Buy America policies and provisions that have existed in our law since the New Deal. And that supports millions of jobs across our economy. I would just like to say, for those who stand up and talk about Buy America, make it in America. You want to make it in America? Then oppose the TPP. because we're not going to be able to make it in America or buy it in America if this trade agreement goes through. The current terms of this 11-nation TPP waves away Buy American policies. It mandates that all firms in any TPP country be given the same treatment as U.S. firms in bidding for federal contracts. This is a terrible idea for American workers and for our businesses. The total U.S. procurement market is twice the size of all of the prospective TPP procurement markets combined, as Congresswoman Edwards pointed out. And when you take away the 6 nations with whom U.S. firms already have preferential access, the deal looks even worse. Our procurement market is 24 times bigger than the new markets opened here. We've been fighting for years to get the Defense Department to buy American, or at the very least to stop giving a no-bid contract to foreign companies. This would take us back in the wrong direction. And ending Buy America would have a profound impact on jobs and the economy. Taxpayers want to see their money work to create jobs here in America, not in sweatshops overseas. 4 out of 5 Americans support Buy America policies. Let's be clear. Ending Buy America is just one of the many, many ways that this proposed NAFTA-style pact with 11 other nations, including Vietnam, where the minimum wage is 52 cents an hour, will end in tears for our workers and our manufacturers. That's why 3/4 of House Democrats and dozens of Republicans have publicly declared their opposition to fast track. We're still in a very tough economy. People are struggling every single day. Families want to see us create jobs, restore economic growth here at home. They remember and they felt firsthand what happened after NAFTA. We should not blindly endorse any more NAFTA-style deals negotiated behind closed doors. Release the text, which sell out our workers, offshore our manufacturing, and further depress wages and benefits. And we should simply not sign away our Buy America investments in our businesses or in our workers, investments that have worked to grow the economy for over 80 years. And thank you for being here today. Anna?
I don't know if there are any questions.
Tell us where you're from.
Politico.
Yes, okay.
I guess, I know you, Congressman DeLauro, have raised a number of concerns about TPP. I'm not as familiar with your position as on that. Just where does this Buy America issue rank on your list of concerns about TPP? If they were to address this in a way that you found satisfactory, would that mean that you would support the agreement?
Well, I mean, the question is support what? I mean, you can't support something that you haven't seen, and something that you don't have an opportunity to review and make changes to. And that is the point. Let's separate the issue of fast track from the actual agreement. The idea that we would just sort of ram through an agreement and use Congress as kind of a rubber stamp for an agreement that we haven't seen, we'd be abdicating our legislative responsibilities by doing that. And so that's on the fast tracking. And then you take the agreement itself. I wasn't elected to Congress by 735,000 people in the 4th Congressional District to close my eyes and say I'm going to, not look at what I'm voting at and not have an opportunity to make changes to that. And so there are a number of provisions that, to the extent that we've heard or we've seen, some text that slipped through that we know about the negotiations, we have some serious concerns, and those concerns are not going to be addressed by just saying, trust me, and putting it on the floor of the House of Representatives. And so the Buy American provisions fit squarely in that bucket. And as Rosa has indicated, this is the second of the letters that we have led with members on. I think the first letter we had over 100 members, this one 120 members. The concerns about the Buy America provisions are growing precisely because I think consideration of that is exacerbated by what we find in our current economy and the history. We've been on this rodeo before. We were in this rodeo with NAFTA, and we saw, for example, in Walter Jones and I are leading this letter together. It's because we've discussed what happened to deplete the manufacturing base in North Carolina, and so we're not going to see that repeated once again. And it would be irresponsible of us as members of Congress to trade away with Buy America $556 billion of access to U.S. procurement in exchange for a meager $53 billion. And think about what that would say to our small businesses, who are the engine of any economy, and especially of ours. We would say, not only now do you have to compete with the multinational companies and U.S. companies who are competing for U.S. procurement, but on top of that, you're going to have to compete with some folks where people are getting paid 50 plus cents an hour. Our small businesses who have access to our U.S. procurement deserve better than that from members of Congress. Great. Thank you.
If you have any comments,
The only thing I would add is that the TPP, the Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement, is so flawed. In addition to primarily, as Congresswoman Edwards pointed out, we haven't been able to see the full text. We have actually been denied the opportunity to do that in a number of ways, but what we do know is that on so many measures, it is unacceptable. It will unravel financial regulations. It makes it more difficult to purchase drugs overseas. It abrogates our environmental laws, and if we want to look at folks who want to say, well, we'll get assurances on those things, just take a look at what's happened in Peru, where so many people signed on to that trade pact because they believed that there was something going to happen with regard to environmental regulations. And now what Peru has done is to roll those back. And so far we have not seen any action or any activity by Ambassador Froman or the administration to counter that. What is it that we're to believe about this? Food safety, an issue that I've taken a very special interest in. It is rolls back our abilities to make sure that we are protecting the public health. And you add to that the Buy America waiving of those efforts, tells you that overall this is a piece of legislation that should not, it hasn't seen the light of day, and that's maybe what should happen to it. It ought to just be buried because it is so flawed. And again, I want to repeat that we have so many people who stand up and who say, let's make it in America. Let's create all these manufacturing jobs here. Well, you cannot be for the TPP and stand up and talk about wanting to make it in America or wanting to create manufacturing jobs here, because we know chapter and verse about the loss of manufacturing jobs in the United States, most recently with the Korea Agreement. And therefore we ought to speak with one voice and not out of both sides of our mouths. But what we ought to do is to say no to TPP for those reasons that Congresswoman Edwards has led the charge on, and other areas in which other members have led the charge on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you all very, very much. Thanks. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.